So, hello, thanks everyone. Thanks for giving up your time to catch up and listen to me present on work in progress. Now, we're all probably more than familiar with work in progress and how it affects our day-to-day accounting practices. So, look, just from a little bit of background, work in progress, why implement this change? So, I guess, as you all know, I've been at Carlisle now for in excess of 6 months' time, and over that time I've had a chance to witness our current procedures and methodologies. Yes, thanks Andy for your input in terms of helping me get up to speed, so much appreciated. But I guess in that time it's given me a chance to understand how we currently do our processes and our monthly procedures, and as you're all very much familiar, probably sick of me talking about it, having come from a competitor in a previous life, it has given me, I guess, the benefit, if you like, to see what works there, what can be applied to our current month-end procedures and other processes, with a view of making some improvements and making our life better here. So I guess same software, same industry, therefore a lot of what is done between the two businesses are therefore transferable. So why not leverage off that background? Okay, so it gives us an opportunity also to look at how we currently do our month-end procedures. Can we refine? Can we make improvements? Can we make it quicker? Can we make it easier on you guys? I don't want to just necessarily make changes for the sake of rolling them out and making your life more painful. Having said that, work in progress is one of our biggest time constraints in terms of where we focus our month-end procedures on. So why not consider if we can make improvements? So the existing one that I'm going to propose and talk to you today about is proven. It's something that I'm familiar with at least for the last 4 or 5 plus years. So I wouldn't be proposing it if I didn't think it was going to be a benefit to the rest of the team. And it also overcomes a lot of the weaknesses that I think we all sort of are familiar with in terms of our current existing WIP analysis methodology. What are those weaknesses? Well, I know we're all sick of talking about them and highlighting them on a monthly basis, but there's excessive fields of data, which if I bring up our current methodology, which you're all familiar with, as you can see, particularly if I scroll to the left-hand side down, there's just a mass sea of data. Now, I know we try and colour code where possible to try and make it easier in how we sort or review these numbers, but as you can see, if we're trying to view the number of data and reconcile where movements are occurring, it does make it quite difficult to sort of, from a visualization point of view. And forever, I mean, I'm up to AW already and could easily keep going in terms of, I think we end up to BW or something like that. So yes, we're almost up to CJ for Collins initials. And also the fact is that the reports we use, excuse me for a second, also have weaknesses in themselves. So even though we are relatively comfortable in what we're preparing is going to be correct, there is that sort of doubt, as we all know, in terms of the accuracy of the reports. But the biggest weakness that I see in using that existing methodology is we're just comparing month on month. So December 18's monthly results, for example, as you know, we're just comparing to November. So that's fine for a job that first comes into construction for its first month, so when the base is being poured. But if a job moves, for example, $3,000 in that first month, in isolation, that's significant enough to investigate. But if we fast forward, for example, that a job is towards the back end and 5 or 6 months into construction, that $3,000 could ultimately be $18,000 $20,000. But because of the fact we're just looking at month on month, we're not seeing the cumulative effect, and therefore we're not reporting or highlighting or identifying those movements. So again, the fact that we're just looking at month on month in isolation is obviously a significant weakness in our current methodology. So, what is the new proposal? Now again, we're always going to have a sea of numbers, and from a visualization point of view, it's going to be hard to overcome because of the fact we've got 600 jobs on average in construction at any one point in time. So that's going to be a little bit difficult to overcome. But as I'll touch on shortly, we try and get around that as much as possible. So here we've got the background data in terms of the job number, the type of house, the job name, address, promotion, staff that are working on the job, but more importantly, the contract revenue, the costs, and the estimated gross margin. So it's this column O, that we're going to refer to continually throughout the time the job is in the build process. So bearing column O in mind, if I scroll to the right, this is where we're going to undertake all our analysis. So if you're familiar with the existing process, any revenue and cost movement is just analysed in the one column. So despite all those multitude of columns, we're really only referring to two where we do all our work. In this field, in this spreadsheet methodology, we're particularly looking at columns AC. That's where we're looking at the cost side. And not only does it force us to reconcile and clear that movement to zero, but we have to reconcile and investigate all differences and therefore summarise them in each of the 7 or 8 different cost category movements. So that's the cost side of things. And on the revenue, likewise, where we have the contract value variance, where there's been a movement for a particular month, it also requires us to document and identify and summarise by drilling into our software what the movement of that contract value is. So basically, if there's a cost or a revenue impact, it forces the user, us, I guess, as a team, to investigate and reconcile what the movement is caused by. So the benefits, if you like, of this new methodology is it utilises the margin to site. So again, if a job has come into construction in July, and if we're looking at a point in time like December, we're constantly have an idea as to how that margin has moved during those months whilst it's been in construction. If we can see there's been an excess number of costs that have been incurred or extras to order, then that gives us the ability to speak to the construction guys and make sure they're aware of the reasons behind those movements. So again, also provides us a monthly reference points for the margin, being that margin to site. It requires us as the users to reconcile all movements from a cost and revenue point of view, where the current methodology doesn't get that. So it sort of allows us to cheat or do a sort of shortcut, if you like. It's easy to use from a presentation point of view, and also equally important is it allows, by using the margin to site, that's the same report as we know that the operations guys use when they're trying to determine the margin on a job. So we can, if you like, speak the same lingo or refer that same margin value to the operations guys. So we're all talking the same sort of numbers, and also gives us the opportunity, I guess, when the job settles, to report back to those the operations guys and the construction guys in terms of how the margin of the job actually finished off. So if it started at 50,000 and then after 6 months of in construction it ultimately deteriorated to become 38, we can report on why and obviously try and make improvements going forward in that point of view. So what do we need to implement this new methodology? Well, there's already a margin to site report that's used by the operations guys. So I think we need to sort of get our head around that report and test for its accuracy. There's also the a locked PO versus actual report, which I'm familiar with. I'm happy to maybe grab you, Matt, to help me out in designing or tweaking that report to make sure there's no issues and how we can leverage off that for this new methodology. And the ETO detail report, which is crucial, as we know, that also comes into play. So they're all three key reports, key components, or key reports that we can leverage off to help us run this new methodology. In terms of time frame to implement, I think, again, if using that for example, if we go through and design, make refinements to these reports, that will require us sitting down with the IT guys. I suspect with other work commitments and whatnot, that might take two months, might be a realistic deadline. Then I think the onus is back on us to test those reports. That might take another month. And then I'm thinking we run the two methodologies parallel for 1 month then to see if there's any significant differences. So that being the case, I think by 30 June, we should be in a realistic position to apply this new methodology. So I think, again, I appreciate I've highlighted a number of reports, new reports, back and forth in terms of how the methodology is likely to work. Until we actually sit down and conduct a few examples, it's probably really hard to get a true grasp of what the impact is going to be from a time point of view, and that's ultimately the aim. It helps us to deal with other departments, it gives a better reference point, and ultimately we can make better decisions from a shorter amount of time. So you've all got the hard copy documents in front of you with a couple of examples, so I suggest you probably take those away with you rather than go into too much detail now, because I appreciate it's a lot of information that's been thrown at you. Over the next, say, week, two perhaps, you look at those examples and how that works through into the spreadsheet, and then maybe we reconvene, and it gives us an opportunity to discuss those specific examples in better detail. I think that's everything from me. So thanks for listening. It's probably a bit hard. Again, I appreciate the understanding the detail of when you're talking about so many numbers, but if you can just trust the fact that I've used this methodology in the past, the new reports are essentially there. We just need to refine them a little bit, and ultimately they'll help us deal and save time going forward. Okay. Yeah. I know. Yeah.